2026 Australian Open entry list unveiled. Fire Alcaraz, Sinner, Sabalenka, and Gauff set to Dazzle. The moment tennis fans across the globe had been waiting for has finally arrived. With one electrifying announcement, the 2026 Australian Open entry list has been officially unveiled, and it landed like a thunderclap beneath the Melbourne sky. The names at the top of the list alone were enough to ignite a worldwide frenzy. Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, Aryna Sabalenka, Coco Gauff, for giants of the modern game, for different styles of destruction, for global superstars ready to open the new season with fireworks. Suddenly, January 2026 doesn't feel far away anymore. It feels inevitable. Melbourne is already on fire. The Australian Open has always been more than just a tournament. It is the first battlefield of the year, where champions test their winter work, where dreams reboot, where confidence is either built or shattered in the furnace of the summer heat. But 2026 feels different. This time, the entry list doesn't just promise competition. It promises chaos, brilliance, rivalry, and legacy-defining moments. The sport's most magnetic names are aligning on the same stage at the same moment, with unfinished business written all over their careers. And when Melbourne hosts greatness, the whole world stops to stare. Carlos Alcaraz, the firestorm returns. Carlos Alcaraz doesn't enter a draw quietly. He enters like a storm. Still astonishingly young, yet already stamped with multiple Grand Slam glory, the Spanish sensation represents raw energy mixed with historic ambition. His game is a symphony of speed, spin, power, and courage. He attacks the court the way legends once attacked eras, without fear, without hesitation. In Melbourne, where conditions reward athleticism and bold shot-making, Alcaraz becomes even more lethal. Every swing feels like a statement. Every sprint reminds the world that the future doesn't wait for permission. 2026 could be the year where Alcaraz doesn't just compete for dominance. He could define it. Jannik Sinner, the silent executioner. If Alcaraz is emotion and flame, then Jannik Sinner is ice and precision. The Italian star plays with surgical clarity. There is no wasted motion, no theatrical drama. Only clean lines, heavy ground strokes, and relentless control of tempo. Against Sinner, rallies feel like slow traps closing. One extra ball, one fraction too slow. And suddenly, the point is gone. His rivalry with Alcaraz has already become one of the sport's most compelling modern sagas. Fire versus ice, instinct versus calculation, joy versus discipline. If the 2026 Australian Open gives the world another Alcaraz, Sinner duel under the lights of Rod Laver Arena, it won't be just a match. It will be a masterclass in modern tennis evolution. Aryna Sabalenka, the queen of power, takes the stage. There is power in tennis. Then there is Aryna Sabalenka. Her serve sounds like thunder. Her forehand echoes like cannon fire. On hard courts, especially in Melbourne's fast conditions, she becomes a storm system that no opponent can comfortably stand against. Sabalenka doesn't simply push you back. She overwhelms your defenses and dares your nerves to survive. But the most terrifying part of Sabalenka's game in 2026? She has grown wiser. The emotional fire that once burned wild has been converted into controlled fury. She now balances aggression with patience, brutality with clarity. That evolution has turned her from a dangerous contender into a dominant force capable of ruling entire seasons. In Melbourne, she won't just be chasing points or wins. She will be chasing authority. Coco Gauff, the crown jewel of the new generation. And then there is Coco Gauff, fast, fearless, focused, once called the future of tennis. She now stands firmly in the present as one of the game's defining figures. Her speed turns defense into offense in a blink. Her mental strength under pressure feels almost unshakable. Match points don't frighten her anymore. They energize her. By 2026, Gauff's evolution into a complete champion feels undeniable. She no longer plays just with promise. She plays with purpose. The Australian Open remains one of the stages where her hunger burns brightest. The long rallies, the physical exchanges, the emotional nights under floodlights. This is where her grit becomes gold. Melbourne 2026 could be the tournament where Coco doesn't just compete for crown. She could own the throne. The men's draw, a battlefield of speed and strategy. With Alcaraz and Sinner already confirmed, the men's draw instantly becomes a war zone of styles. Expect speed merchants, baseline generals, net raiders, and rising teenagers who believe they have nothing to lose. But despite the depth, one truth already feels heavy in the air. The road to the 2026 title likely runs straight through Alcaraz and Sinner. Their presence alone reshapes the psychology of the draw. Players don't just prepare for matches anymore. They prepare for inevitability. And when inevitability finally collides under the brutal Australian sun, only one will walk away with the final roar. The women's draw, power, poetry, and pressure. On the women's side, the tension is just as relentless. Sabalenka brings force. Gauff brings speed and composure. And between them exists a sea of challengers hungry to rewrite the hierarchy. What makes the 2026 women's field so volatile is its diversity of weapons. Explosive servers, relentless retrievers, fearless teenagers, tactical veterans. But when Sabalenka and Gauff stand at opposite ends of the draw, the tournament feels magnetically pulled toward a single possibility, a collision of power and pace on the final weekend. And if that final ever arrives, it could become one of the most watched women's matches of the decade. The crowd, the heat, and the furnace of Melbourne. No Grand Slam test the body like the Australian Open. The heat is not a rumor, it is an identity. The nights are loud. The crowds breathe with every rally. The air carries tension with every break point. Here, stamina becomes currency. Mental endurance becomes survival. Every player learns quickly that talent alone is not enough. Only those who can endure the furnace earn the right to history. Alcaraz, Sinner, Sabalenka, Gauff. Each of them enters 2026 armed not only with skill, but with the psychological armor required to survive Melbourne's madness. The global frenzy begins. The internet exploded within minutes of the entry list reveal. Ticket searches surged. Flight prices jumped. With these 4 names confirmed, broadcasters are already preparing for primetime dominance. Sponsors are circling. Cameras are calibrating. Storylines are being written before even a single ball is struck. This is no longer just tennis. This is global entertainment at its highest velocity. Final word. 2026 Australian Open entry list unveiled. Fire Alcaraz, Sinner, Sabalenka, and Gauff set to Dazzle. This headline doesn't just announce names. It announces a warning. Because when January arrives and these 4 step onto Melbourne's courts, the world won't merely watch. It will hold its breath. New legends will rise. Old doubts will burn. Records will tremble. Pressure will shatter. And when the final point drops under the Australian night sky, one truth will echo louder than all the cheers combined. The future of tennis isn't approaching anymore. It has already arrived, faster, fiercer, and brighter than ever. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Till next time.